topic of international co-productions, Perfect Days. It was directed by Wim Wenders. And it is written by Wim Wenders and Takuma Takashi. It's unclear why Wim Wenders would want to make a film set in Tokyo. But I'm going to consider it a European-Japanese co-production.
Fusion.
Yes. A fusion. And a film is certainly the the script part of the film is always like somebody's idea. So even if it's set in a certain culture, etc., it's still that idea of that story of these people that deciding to tell this story. So Wim Wenders, who we all know from Paris, Texas and films like that.
In German they say man hat Ideen. One has an idea.
I felt like that with Paris, Texas as well. It's like, why? Why?
Because.
Why?
Because.
I mean, I was very close to doing one of these for Paris, Texas at one point because it's like, what? Why do we need this story? And this film has very much that same vibe because it's again a man fairly estranged from society, but this Japanese man who is still working in society is very functional. So there's only so much estrangement you could do, but this guy has managed it. He has done his best and he has succeeded. So we are left wondering what the Perfect Days refers to of the title, but the film seems to show his day, and then his day when something out of the ordinary happens, and then his day when more things out of the ordinary happens, and then his day when everything gets derailed. And it's very basic storytelling and it works. But because you start with somebody's day, it's very much an art house film. But again, Paris, Texas, very much an art house film as well.
I think Wim Wenders is very much of an art house kind of person.
Yeah, but it's certainly not big Hollywood with big budgeting or even big plans for marketing, etc. And so this one, our main guy, Hirayama, that I suspect he is about 55 years old. The actor is actually well into his late 60s. But I didn't feel that was the age of the character, because his sister has let's call it a 16 to 18 year old daughter. So if we kind of keep everything in line with stuff, he's probably in his 50s. And he looks it, and he has this very calm, collected life where he doesn't need to talk to people. We get to see all the ins and outs of the public toilets in Tokyo because he cleans them. And that's his day. And as one would imagine that somebody who makes that his work, he takes pride in doing it very, very well. He also thinks his colleagues should be doing a better job. And his colleague, as most people might be, especially when they're young still, might see this job as a temporary thing and move on to something else. So that moving on happens when he's just gotten really a little bit used to this guy. And then, of course, that's one of the things that messes up his subsequent days.
Do you think this guy has like the touch of autism or something like that?
Well, I mean, literally, I wrote this down in my notes. I won't show my notes, because my notes are really ugly at this point. But I believe he's autistic, because for the first hour of the film, he doesn't speak. Even when people speak to him, I mean, he interacts, he nods, he points, he makes sure he gets out of the conversation out of the way very quickly. But he literally doesn't speak. And I think you have to be autistic to actually do that. And then just as I decided that, okay, he's autistic, he's mute, he cannot speak, he goes into a nice bar, let's call it 1980s style bar, And there's a lady in traditional dress serving the guys some food. And then they're asking her to sing the song, and he speaks. Not just like, okay, a couple of words because I have to in order to order my food. Because he comes in and she says, of course, your usual. All of the places that he gets his food, he gets the usual. He has nothing at home. He just has a room somewhere and that's it. He can brush his teeth there. We've seen that multiple times. And that's all he can do. He cannot cook there. So he goes to places to eat. And they just like, of course, you're here, your usual. So at some point he would have had to communicate to them that what his usual was. But since we're coming in an established routine here that's probably been going on for years and years and years, and he loves his cassette tapes albums. It's a specific thing. I would have thought it would have literally been albums, but he can put his cassette tape into his cassette tape player in his car and he can play them. And as the movie goes on, you see how large his collection is. And it's all old stuff. And it's very much Americana, not just Americana, it's American music from the 60s and 70s. So the whole thing is very much a nostalgia trip. It's all about slowing down life. The past was better. Everything he does in his life is analog. He's got his analog camera. He goes and has the films developed. He has like 3 hobbies: reading books, of course, not on anything digital, the music, and taking photos of trees. It's very autistic. So I had my little list of what makes this an autistic character. So he is repetitive. He loves his routine. He cannot deal with his routine being changed. He has selective mutism, because I thought for the first hour of the film that he wouldn't be speaking, but he does. So it's selective. He lives in his own reality, and he has an ability to communicate. An inability to communicate. On top of that, he loves the analog. So everything in his life is analog. And the people that move in and out of his life, they remark on it. Some people really love it. And some people, they're like, why are you doing this? Now his young colleague that does move on very quickly after that takes him out he wants to borrow money to take a girl out. And at this point, the girl has more interest in Hirayama than in the younger colleague, because he is calm and he's friendly, although he doesn't, well, he's not that friendly, but he's certainly not trying to get her into bed. And he has interesting music, and she wants him to play it in his on the player in his car, because it makes a different sound than her iPhone or whatever mobile phone she has. And so everybody interacts with him, has to interact with the fact that he's analog. Yeah, it's a very strange film. So then I thought, okay, we're now meditating on the world of analog in a world of digital. Why? I don't know. Also, at that point, it's clear why the width of the film is a 3x4. Because that's the first thing I noticed. I got the wrong edition, I think, because where's my widescreen? It's on purpose. At one point, his daughter comes to visit. That's day like 3 or 4, where everything goes off the rail. No, not quite. It's like almost everything, but he can still deal. And so he takes her along on his day of work, and she's got an iPhone and he's got his little camera, and she is filming him, and then suddenly the screen goes like this. It's very cool. Until she's done filming, and then it goes back to 3x4. So yeah, this is very much an art house film. The only thing missing is that it's not in sepia. Everything is in proper colors as they are. It's very realistic colors. He's also dreaming between one day and the next. There's all these dreams, and I was like, oh, of course, we're going to see how he got to be this way through his dreams. No. His dreams seem to be reflecting just things that happened in the day, only now we are in black and white and sepia and we're all muddled up. So I'm getting a little bit of this Lost in Translation feel that I had when I watched Lost in Translation. Is like, okay, yes, I get it. You're telling this to me. I have understood the canvas you have painted. Are we gonna do anything with it?
Nope.
Nope. So then we've already had the colleague trying to sell his cassette tapes, which are very valuable. Yeah, I mean, tapes from the 1980s have made a comeback, and I mean, I only know about vinyl, but apparently tapes as well. So they go to a store, and this guy offers him like 100. It's all translated money, but €100 or $100 for this and that tape, $80 and stuff like that. And he's not going to sell them. No. Also, he has plenty of money because he's not spending it on anything other than developing film, buying cassette tapes, and buying books. Especially his book collection is quite large because he's living in this one room, but when the camera slowly starts showing, all he's got is the tatami mats, and he's got his futon and the duvet, but and a little lamp. So he's lying in bed and he's reading, and the book keeps falling on his face because he keeps falling asleep while he's reading, that sort of thing. But as we go into his room to see him do the things, including like cleaning the room as well, we start seeing more and more like, oh, he doesn't just have a bookcase, it's stacked like 2 or 3 deep. So he's also a collector. He has his special interests, and that is definitely an autistic trait. And he sticks to his special interest. That's very much an autistic trait. So he's not an ADHD person. Oh, but none of that is actually part of what happens in the story. Because after the girl has been collected by his sister, because the girl was the niece, right? So she's collected by the sister, and the sister remarks, come home, father is doing badly, and you need to see him before he dies, and don't worry, he's not as he was, implying that he was a right bastard, and that this guy had every reason to not be there anymore. And because this is an art house film that is trying to say something, I don't think that all of this requires spoiler space. This is the kind of thing that there's an awful lot implied, but there's a reason that this character has withdrawn from the world. But he is withdrawn in his way, so he's actually become more himself, which is a very beautiful thing. He has created a world, for him it's analog, whatever, it could be anything. But he has created a world in which he can exist, hopefully comfortably, hopefully even happily. And I think when he goes to that bar in the evening and then they sing these old songs, and they're singing, the Japanese woman is singing it in English. It's the kind of songs that you would expect maybe, yeah, I mean, it's even before his time, kind of. I mean, he's a 55-year-old. He is not from the 60s. Yeah, he's maybe from 69. But he's not, it wasn't his era. His era would have been the 80s. So maybe that's how he got into the tapes, because the tapes are very much an 80s thing. So everything would have been available on tape, and you can put it in your car player, which of course vinyl, you can't do that. It's not portable. So maybe that's how he got to where he was, but at that point he was already focusing on music from the 60s and 70s. It's like, yeah, this is a very autistic thing to do. Is that and only that and all of that? Sure, absolutely. And then eventually there's a scene with the boyfriend, no, the ex-husband of the singing bar woman. I had to put that together a little bit because the movie is very unclear about it. But there's a fair amount of female characters running around him that he's he has to interact with, and lesser so male characters. I mean, the one male character, his colleague, he's much younger, he's a completely different guy, talks incessantly, also has a little bit of a tick because he rates everything that he says, he rates in like 1 through 10. So everything that he talks about, he then gives a rating. It's a 9 out of 10. And the girl, she's a 10 out of 10. And then, the music was a 6 out of 10, that sort of thing. So that's also not your neurotypical thing. So maybe he also lives in a world of neurodiversity, and he just has to find his way in it. And he doesn't have to interact with anybody. Not all people in this world need to constantly interact with other people. That is a choice. And he found himself a job where he can basically just not. But the final, let's call it the final day of the film, is where he sees this woman that I think he has interest in, who sings in the bar. In normal life, he saw her with her ex-husband, and he's like, oh, wait, are they back together or whatever? And then this ex-husband comes to talk to him. By this time, of course, he's actually not mute, so he is talking, but it's just weird. And tells him about, the health issues, and it's really, really bad. He only has so much time to live. And then they bond over that. Not over that the guy has so little time to live, but over talking to his ex-wife about it and whatnot. I mean, now we're going in very much the male bonding of people that I will never be, have never been, don't really know, and would never do it that way because I am just not a retiree dude. So yeah, Wim Wenders is a Central European, and I'm a Central European or Northern European. But no, that's about all that's in common here. So I'm not an old dude that likes to be nostalgic. I'm not terribly nostalgic to start with.
You're maybe just not the target audience for this movie.
I think not. And at the same time, because it's an art house movie, it is very watchable. It's just that you do have to slow down. And they're doing that on purpose. And that's why it cannot be anything but art house. Because a commercial film will not ask you to slow down. Because they know that people are there for entertainment. This is to tell a story. This is to give a feeling of what this guy is going through. And I feel that that's more documentary type, especially the first half hour when there's not much happening other than we're seeing him do his ablutions of the day. Literally we see him in the bathhouse, we see him at home, we see him do his work, get his overalls on. Literally we see everything. And that's interesting because I like documentaries. So yeah, sure, show me everything. I mean, I was a little bored with the toilet bowls. I am not a fan of I'm the fan of using the toilet.
And then leaving.
But I'm not a fan of looking at it that long. And to envision cleaning it. No. I think there's many women that are like, the less I have to think about that, the better in life. So, we do know that there's like temples that make people, if you want to be, initiate in the temple like that you will have to be doing all the toilet cleaning, and it's great. But a lot of women in the world have toilet cleaning on their menu anyway, so this is not like anything special. Maybe that is one of the things why I'm saying this is a very male movie. Even though it's extremely watchable, it's extremely accessible for women, and they're looking at the emotional life of this man, but it is through so many mirrors and lenses and stuff. It's like you have to interpret everything. There's no text. The only text was in there that was like, Dad's not like he used to be. And with the trailer, they make a big deal out of what he says. Now is now, and tomorrow is tomorrow. Another day is another day. That's literally the only thing he ever said in the film. And even in the film, they overdo it. Because they repeat it. He and his daughter, because she's like, when can we go to the beach? Well, not now, because we're doing something else. And then it's like, this is this very deep philosophical moment for the girl to learn it. And in order to show us that, he repeats it like 4 or 5 times. She repeats it 4 or 5 times. It's like, no. So that's like, now you could have done show instead of tell, please, because you're not doing very well at the tell. So I don't like how they did that. It's, yeah, tell kids what the lesson is. I do approve of that. They need to learn the lesson and they don't need to sit there and have to guess at it. But there is a middle ground somewhere that you don't have to then repeat the same words over and over. So yeah, it's up to you. I mean, this film could have been set in any city. Outside the city would have been a little bit difficult because of all the amounts of public toilets that he's cleaning. Maybe it could have been like a big train station somewhere in a regional area, but because he's in the city, we can take to various areas. He takes his little tiny little van that he tuffs to the various areas where he's assigned. Little crisis when his colleague quits, and he literally quits and doesn't show up. So now he has to do all the toilets by himself, and that's like a crisis day where he has to work harder than normal, and then he's thrown out of his routine that way. And then he gets annoyed, and he starts using his phone to call up. It turns out he has a phone. He has a mobile phone. Probably lives in his car. Because he doesn't use it for anything else. Yeah, so what to think? I had fun watching it. I did inspect the carpet a few times when there were more toilet bowls. It's like, I don't need to see a guy on his knees cleaning a toilet bowl that often.
Is it in English or in Japanese?
Oh, it's in Japanese because it's set in Japan. So.
And the subtitles?
It's set in Tokyo. It's subtitled in English. I'm sure that if you get it on like a Blu-ray or some streaming service that they might have subtitles in other languages, but English will do me. All English casts, they're all fantastic. Our main guy is played by Kôji Yakusho, and he's the guy from Tampopo. Everybody will remember the guy from Tampopo. Because he's still got the face. Oh, so good, so good. And I saw a little interview with him, and he said he loves movies where he doesn't have to talk. And that's the actor you need for a role like this. I thought I was watching, it's like, surely this actor made sure, it's probably his passion project, right, to do this, because he's on screen the entire time and a lot of it is on his face. And you would imagine that you would only do that if it's a passion project. But no, it's not him. They chose him. It's like, if I was Wim Wenders and Takuma Takashi, I would also go to Kôji and say, can you please? The face.
And everybody's seen Tampopo.
We need the face. And if you've seen a very old review I did on 4 Weddings and a Funeral, I go on about how this is, you cannot have made this movie without Hugh Grant, because that face, it's not just the face, it's also what you do with the face. You have to do all these micro expressions and minimize them even, because the camera is like this on the face. And an actor who can't pull that off cannot lead a movie like this. I don't think that there's like a dime a dozen actors for this. It's not possible. An actor who can do this, and you're still very happy to look at the actor, not so much at the toilets. That's the actor that can do probably anything. I did have a good time. I would advise to watch it, and feel free to bail at any time, but then at least you've given it a go. I enjoyed this more than Paris, Texas. A lot more. Yeah, it's also visually very pretty. For Paris, Texas was very pretty, but in in a Western, very flat desert way. Yeah, but they use it here as well. Anytime you put freeze frame, it's gonna be pretty. Except maybe the toilets, but the toilets you never see anything dirty really. It's all, it's actors cleaning clean toilets, so it's not a problem. There was a tiny moment where they did put diversity in, which was the moment that his colleague Takashi, he has a good hello relationship with a boy with Down syndrome, who knows when he's cleaned in that part of the park that they're cleaning those toilets, and he comes and he starts hugging him and stuff, and then of course at some point Takashi isn't there because he quit his job, and then the boy comes around and he wants to, like, I guess I can hug you, and they were like looking at each other like, no, that ain't happening. There's only one Takashi. So, highly recommend, with some weird caveats, but if you're happy just having watched my review, I've pretty much told you everything. That's probably also enough. And that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.